If you think you've mastered dispatch, get ready to upgrade your game. Today, I'm going to reveal 7 advanced tips that will transform your experience, make you play like a true expert, and overcome any challenge with ease. Few people know these insights, and I guarantee that after learning them, dispatch will never be the same for you. So stay tuned. I'm Matthew, and the video is about to begin. This tip about dispatch truly shows how deeply understanding the game's mechanics can transform your strategy. When you start carefully combining stats in missions, you get that feeling of dominating the game's manual, you know? It's like assembling a real team, where each hero has their exact role, which gives a sense of control and competence that few games offer. I always like to think of it as putting together an elite squad, everyone at their best, and success seems more guaranteed. The coolest thing about this tip is that it encourages a careful reading of the briefing. The details that seem small, like a clue about violence or analysis, actually hold the secret to the perfect team composition. It's as if the game were giving you a puzzle clue, and your sensitivity to these details makes all the difference. It's not just about assembling for the sake of it, it's about understanding what the mission asks for and adjusting the heroes accordingly. For those who like to think classically about strategy, this is an invitation to play smarter. I always keep thinking about how these small adjustments can make all the difference in the more complicated missions. If your team has the highest level of combat for a brawl mission, for example, the chance of success skyrockets. But at the same time, if you don't pay attention to the briefing clue, you end up missing opportunities. This tip reminds me that sometimes the game is not just about having the strongest character, but about using that strength at the right time and to the right degree. It is a combination of strategy that keeps the game alive and challenging. And there's one thing I find very interesting. This way of thinking also makes you value each hero differently. You end up noticing that a character who is usually underestimated, if well placed in the mission, can make all the difference. It's like a game of chess, where each piece has its value and its moment to shine. This also helps explore the potential of each hero, discover new combinations, and surprise in the most difficult challenges. In the end, this type of tip reinforces what we already know. It is not enough to just level up heroes or invest in equipment. You also need to understand well what the game wants from you. Dispatch is one of those games that rewards those who pay attention to the details, and this tip shows exactly that. For those who like to think, plan, and explore these deeper layers, it is gold. And of course, ultimately, this strategy helps transform any complex mission into a savory and much more satisfying victory.
Managing cooldowns and the rest periods of heroes in dispatch is one of those details that make all the difference in your experience with the game. In most cases, excitement can lead you to send the team without due preparation, and then comes the punishment in the form of mission failures. I see this as an important lesson, understanding that, just like in real life, everyone needs time to recover, even the strongest heroes on your team. This careful management brings that touch of realism and strategy that makes the game much more interesting. What I like about this tip is the idea of creating an efficient rotation among heroes. It's not just sending one after the other. It's thinking about the timing, the cooldown, who is ready to act with the most efficiency. This makes it seem like you have a very well-trained team, always ready to spring into action without leaving gaps. I particularly find it fascinating to think about characters like Phenomenon, who have fast recovery and can be the pillar to keep the group working 24/7. This shows how small details of the game end up shaping the entire long-term strategy. Another thing this tip makes me think about is how patience is rewarded in this type of game. It might seem annoying to wait for the heroes to rest, but this interval is essential to avoid burnout and ensure missions are successful. For those who like challenges, this human resource management in the game is an element of depth that goes beyond the obvious. You are not just sending heroes to the mission, you are setting up a sustainable cycle where they can perform at maximum potential all the time. Furthermore, planning the sequences helps avoid that frustration that happens when your stars are unavailable at the decisive moment.
Organizing the team so that someone is always ready for the next mission brings a feeling of control that few games can provide. I believe that it is one of those aspects that differentiates a casual player from a strategic player, and this tip is essential for those who want to stand out in Dispatch. Organization and management are the key to evolving solidly and consistently. This approach of managing cooldowns and rests is one of the big breakthroughs to transform Dispatch into a game that requires more than just brute muscle. It's about thinking, planning, and respecting the limits of your team. And it's this maturity in decisions that transforms every completed mission into an even more satisfying victory. For me, this makes it clear that Dispatch is not just about quick action, but about intelligent strategy and total control of the game.
When it comes to Dispatch, optimizing the allocation of level up points is essential to create truly effective heroes. I always think that instead of trying to turn a character into a jack of all trades, it's much more interesting to specialize them in 2 or 3 key stats that really make sense for their profile and for what you want from the team. This tip brings a more strategic and focused vision, which avoids dispersing the character's strength and manages to extract the maximum potential from each of them. A simple example, but one that works very well, is Phenomenon. Betting on combat and mobility for him makes him stand out where it really matters, not only taking the hit, but also being quick in execution. This shows how the correct choice of stats can transform an ordinary hero into a key piece for certain missions. This logic reminds me a lot of character building in traditional RPGs, where specialization increases impact and efficiency in specific situations. Avoiding spreading points across too many attributes at once is a lesson that many people learn in practice, when they see that a character, average in everything, never really stands out. The game clearly rewards those who think about niches and clear roles for each hero within the team. And this approach helps build a more cohesive team, where heroes are complementary, not redundant. This makes the team more versatile, with each character performing their strategic function well. What I like most about this tip is that it doesn't close the door to creativity. Quite the opposite. It suggests a balanced and specialized basis, but still leaves room for assembling interesting hybrids that unite 2 strong stats, like combat and mobility, bringing a much-needed versatility for varied missions. This is crucial because some missions require agility, others demand brute force, and when your hero can handle both well, the range of options for your team grows considerably. Thinking about point allocation this way makes the player more deeply involved in team building, as if they were assembling a truly well-trained army. This tip not only improves performance, but also increases the pleasure of playing, because you realize that every choice has a real impact on the missions. For those who want to master Dispatch, this specialization is one of the keys to transforming heroes into true champions on the battlefield. This tip on sabotages is the kind of insight that completely changes the way you approach these events. At first, these situations might seem somewhat random, but by using the right stats for each action, you start to feel like you're playing one step ahead of the system. Using charisma to distract with music, for example, is a brilliant move that makes you realize the game is not just brute force, but also about manipulation and timing. When I understood this, the matches started to become much more strategic and fun. The Doxed Prism event is a great example of how understanding these nuances makes all the difference. Using Combat 5 for a direct blast has that more aggressive appeal, but combining that with Vigor to push brings a variety of approaches that keeps the game dynamic. I think it's incredible how this mixture of statistics opens up space to experiment with different tactics, forcing the player to think not only about power, but also about strategy and control of the environment. It's one of the parts I liked most about Dispatch, this tactical freedom within the events. Another thing that is noteworthy is the possibility of doing retry until you get the ideal result. This shows that the game values your learning and persistence, almost as if challenging you to go after the best solution. Like that feeling of someone who tries again and again until they get the perfect move right. I love these moments when you feel you are in total control, especially when using a resource like Vigor to force an action like giving laxatives in the Punch-Up's coffee. This type of detail gives a different flavor to the gameplay.
This approach to sabotages reminds me that dispatch is not just about sending your heroes to attack. It's also about knowing their weaknesses and strengths, using the environment and possibilities to your advantage. This tip makes us see the game in a more tactical way, where every choice matters, and we can take advantage of the unique characteristics of the characters. It gives that feeling of assembling not only the best team, but also the best strategy for each specific challenge the game puts in your path. In the end, mastering sabotages with these specific choices sends a clear message. Dispatch wants you to think, test, and refine your actions. This tip is gold for those who want to go further, for those who like truly intelligent and rewarding challenges. For me, this is what makes the game so addictive and rewarding. Knowing that every small decision can turn the game your way, and that persistence in experimenting with new strategies can lead to epic and satisfying results.
The tip about the water boy is one of those hidden gems that make the game gain an extra layer of depth for those who like to fully explore the mechanics. At first, it might seem strange to ignore a hero, but this strategy of letting him rest for 2 turns so that on the 3rd he returns with a buff really makes you think differently about how to manage the team. It's like a master trick, where patience and timing come together to maximize your group's potential. And this brings a very rewarding feeling of control over the game. I love how this water boy mechanic opens up space to fill gaps in the team. Sometimes the team has that flaw in a key stat, and being able to count on this automatic boost on the 3rd turn is like a fine-tuning that saves the mission. This type of resource reminds me of games where you need to think not only about brute force, but about the true management of the resources you have. It's a reminder that, in dispatch, strategy pays more than shooting in all directions without planning. Another point that I found very interesting is the recommendation to avoid unnecessary cures to achieve perfect runs. This makes me see how the game is detailed and requires an almost surgical attention to your steps. Instead of automatically healing for the sake of healing, you need to understand the timing and the actual effects, something that enriches the experience for those who like a challenge and want to extract the maximum from the mechanics. It is one of those tips that show that dispatch greatly values the player's skill. Knowledge makes all the difference. The fact that the Water Boy bonus can be upgradable to add +1 to all stats is an added incentive to use this strategy intelligently. For me, it helps build the feeling that you are truly investing in a deep system, where improvements matter and you can mold the performance of your heroes in a very personalized way. This careful assembly brings a very pleasant dynamic to the gameplay and makes you want to test various combinations to get the most out of this buff. Abusing the Water Boy mechanic is a great example of how dispatch rewards those who have a strategic eye and patience to explore all its corners. This tip reminds me that winning in the game is more than a quick mission. It's about understanding and manipulating the mechanics, optimizing the team, and thinking long-term. For those who enjoy this type of challenge, it is one of the best strategies to guarantee perfect runs and achieve results that truly reflect the player's ability and planning. The tip of using hacking to avoid risky checks is one of those that makes you feel like a true strategist. Most of the time, when you are faced with missions like museum robbery or power outages, that moment of tension where the mission can fail due to a difficult check can ruin your entire strategy. But then hacking comes in, which not only increases your chances of success to 100%, but also yields valuable XP, and this completely changes the pace of the game. I love this feeling of having this ace up your sleeve to bypass the most complicated situations without losing pace. The use of specific characters like Malevola and Prism for the hack minigames is a detail that really makes the game shine for me. You can see how the choice of hero for each type of mission makes all the difference, and understanding this type of specialization brings an extra layer of depth to the missions. These are moments when the game rewards your knowledge of the cast and abilities, making each character have their time to shine. This connection between the character and the mission is something that captivates me a lot in Dispatch. One thing that is very much worth highlighting is the use of the pause menu for planning. I think few games give the player this freedom to think and assemble the best strategy by pausing the action, and this makes the gameplay less frantic and more cerebral.
Exactly what I like. This allows me to breathe, analyze what is happening, and decide the best way to act without rushing, which transforms the experience into something more strategic and less impulsive. For those who like to think before acting, it is a relief to be able to count on this functionality. I also really like the tip of making sure that Phenomenon does not get depressed, using the coffee pot. This shows how the game is concerned not only with stats and abilities, but with the emotional state of the heroes, adding a super realistic and interesting layer of management. This type of detail makes you value the team even more as a living and dynamic whole, and not just as numbers on a spreadsheet. It is a reminder that maintaining the team's mood and motivation can be just as important as on-field performance. Using hacking to bypass checks is a strategy that reflects the dispatch vibe well. You need to play with intelligence, explore the mechanics, and take care of your heroes to have consistent success. This tip makes it clear to me that this game is not just about quick action and luck, but about planning, specialization, and emotional control. For me, this is what makes Dispatch an addictive and rewarding game, where every decision matters and can make all the difference in your journey.
The tip about optimizing point allocation in level ups is one of those strategies that truly transforms your gaming experience. I always feel that instead of trying to distribute points generically, focusing on 2 or 3 key stats makes the difference between an average hero and a specialist who can carry the team in specific missions. It's a change in mindset. Not wanting to be good at everything, but excellent at what truly matters for each character and situation. This makes hero development more rewarding and the gameplay more efficient. An example I always hesitate to let slip is Phenomenon, focused on combat and mobility. For me, this combination represents the perfect balance between strength and agility, allowing him to be versatile in combat and quick to resolve situations. This specialization brings visible results in missions, and investing in these attributes creates a sense of focused evolution, as opposed to spreading points which only leaves the character okay in several areas without standing out. I see this choice as a way to personalize the playing style, almost like creating a character with their own identity. Avoiding spreading points too much is a lesson the game clearly reinforces. Overly hybrid heroes end up not being truly strong in anything. For me, it's almost like in the real world, where trying to embrace too many skills at once compromises excellence in any of them. Dispatch makes this even more explicit, rewarding those who think of clear niches for each character, allowing them to shine at what they do best. This logic has made me rethink my approach in other games too, valuing specialization. The tip also reinforces that complementary hybrids, like the famous pairing of combat plus mobility, are ideal for maintaining team flexibility. This combination ensures that the hero is not limited, being able to perform well in various situations and still be very efficient. I like this because it brings a lighter dynamic to the missions, as you can adapt the team quickly without losing much focus on specialization. This balance helps maintain the pace of the game, without the need for many swaps or complex adjustments at the last minute. Thinking about point allocation this way is more than a strategy. It's an invitation to get more deeply involved with the game and its characters. This tip changes the player's mindset to something more strategic and focused, which ends up elevating the pleasure of playing Dispatch. For me, this is the essence of the game. Not just winning, but doing so with planning, intelligence, and that personal touch that only a good strategy can provide.
Other issues, and Phenom is an alien, not a person.
Let's go with Waterboy. I think he deserves a shot, and he seems shockingly more stable than Phenomenon at the moment.
I hear ya. I might have him take care of this mess before he starts, but yeah, let's go with it. I'll let him know. He really looks up to you.
Does he look up to me, or... Wait, does he know I'm Mekaman?
Yeah, but he said he won't tell anyone.
I guess that's good.
I'll let him know. You'll see him in the roster for your next dispatch.